Taiwan, I'm Jeremy Olivier with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. The U.S. House of Representatives has unanimously passed a bill supporting Taiwan's inclusion in the International Monetary Fund. The bill, called the Taiwan Non-Discrimination Act, asks the U.S. to advocate Taiwan's participation in the financial organization. Representative Young Kim, who sponsored the bill, says IMF membership would help Taiwan strengthen its financial resilience and resist China's economic coercion. The bill still needs Senate approval before it can be signed into law by the president. Taiwanese visitors to Brunei can now enter the country visa-free for up to 14 days. The visa waiver was first announced on social media by Taiwan's foreign minister, who welcomed it as a milestone in Taiwan-Brunei ties. The news comes just days after the Philippines granted Taiwan travelers visa-free entry. Taiwan passport holders can now visit over 100 countries and territories without a visa, including 5 Southeast Asian nations. Hope for peace in the Middle East? U.S. President Donald Trump is claiming that all sides in the recent conflict between the U.S., Israel, and Iran have agreed to a ceasefire. But as missiles continue to fly, the state of the ceasefire remains far from certain. Chris Gorin reports.
Iran launches missiles against the U.S. military. The Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, one of the largest U.S. bases in the region, was the target. Iran says it's retaliation for the U.S. joining Israel's strikes on its nuclear facilities on Sunday. U.S. officials report 13 out of 14 missiles were intercepted, and no injuries were reported. Qatar condemned the attack.
The state of Qatar condemns in the strongest terms the Iranian missile attack on the Qatari Al Udeid Air Base. This attack represents a flagrant violation of Qatar's sovereignty and contravenes the principles of good neighborliness.
U.S. President Donald Trump downplayed the attack, however, even thanking Iran for warning the U.S. before the strikes, later saying that Israel and Iran had agreed to a ceasefire to be implemented within 24 hours. But Iran seemed to dispute Trump's claim. Its foreign minister, currently in Moscow for talks with Russia, said that no ceasefire was agreed to, but left open the possibility of one if Israel ceases its attacks. Some in Iran celebrated the attack on the U.S. and called for more.
We aren't satisfied with the number of missiles fired. It was too few. We want the Iranian armed forces to fire many more. All the Americans in the Middle East, all their military personnel should be sent back in coffins. And in my opinion, it was far too few.
While in Israel, air raid sirens continued to ring into the morning, leaving the state of the ceasefire in question. With both sides on high alert, the region is bracing for what's next. Patrick Chun and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
President Trump has posted a new message on social media saying the ceasefire is now in effect and asking the parties not to violate it. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte is warning that Beijing's military buildup could drag Russia and Europe into a potential conflict in the Taiwan Strait.
And we are all very worried, of course, about the situation in Taiwan. And we also know that there is a risk that if the Chinese would try anything with Taiwan, that no doubt he will call his junior partner, Mr. Putin, and make sure that the junior partner in that relationship with China, Mr. Putin, will keep us busy here.
Rutte made the remarks ahead of the NATO summit in The Hague. He stressed the alliance's close ties with the Asia-Pacific, and that allies Japan, South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand are also concerned about China's military expansion. At the summit, NATO members will commit to increasing defense spending to 5% of their country's GDP, a key demand from U.S. President Donald Trump. But some fear U.S. strikes on Iran could overshadow the meeting. Taiwan says it tracked 4 Chinese Coast Guard vessels near the outlying Kinmen Islands. Taiwan's Coast Guard says the boats entered restricted waters to the east and west of Kinmen on Monday afternoon. Authorities say they issued warnings and monitored the vessels until they left Kinmen's waters. It's the latest in a string of incursions around the islands, which lie just 10 kilometers from the Chinese coast. Official statistics show over 70 incursions by Chinese Coast Guard vessels since February last year. The U.S. says Chinese AI firm Deepseek is aiding China's military and intelligence, and is also sharing American user data with Beijing. A U.S. official told Reuters that Deepseek has access to large volumes of NVIDIA's advanced chips, technology that's been under U.S. export restrictions since 2022. Reuters reports Deepseek is trying to remotely access U.S.-made chips via shell companies in Southeast Asia to evade export controls. Deepseek claims its AI models are equal to or better than American models. U.S. companies Amazon, Microsoft, and Google continue offering Deepseek services to their customers. All recall campaigns targeting lawmakers from the ruling Democratic Progressive Party have failed. Organizers of the last two campaigns say they won't proceed. Meanwhile, several more recall bids targeting opposition Kuomintang lawmakers could get the go-ahead for a public vote in mid-July. 24 campaigns against KMT lawmakers are already set for votes on July 26th. It's been 3 years since Taiwan's anti-stalking law took effect, but advocates say some people are still living in fear. They say the law needs updating to close gaps that leave people exposed. Now one lawmaker says she has a plan. John Van Trieste reports.
跟骚立法3周年，保护还要更完善，保护还要更完善。
Ms. A's life is derailed. For 2 years, she's been followed and threatened by a coworker whose advances she rejected. Her stalkers spread her personal information online and even broken into her house. Taiwan's anti-stalking law hasn't stopped the harassment. Despite a written warning from police and a court-issued protection order, she lives in hiding. And even here, giving pre-recorded testimony today, with her voice changed, she appears with a mask, sunglasses, and a low hat to guard her privacy.
法律到底是保护被害者还是保护加害者呢？我觉得是保护加害者。
It's now exactly 3 years since the Stalking and Harassment Prevention Act took effect, and victims advocates say it's helped close to 9,000 victims get help from police. But the question of how many cases like Ms. A's remain, undetected or just brushed off, is something that concerns them. One issue, from a lawyer's view, is that the law says the crime must be, quote, sexual or gender-related, conflating two issues and opening a loophole some only realize is there when they try to report stalking behavior.
我们之前曾经遇过非常多人哦，他去到警察局，跟警察说，指责他说他一直跟着我。警察告诉他说，抱歉，我们没有办法处理这个问题，这个行为也不是性骚扰，跟着你也不是性骚扰。
But there's at least one chance to close those loopholes and offer more effective protection to stalking victims. Lawmaker Fan Yun says she's drawing up a bill to do just that. She says it will have the government rethink the need for a sexual harassment threshold so no one is left behind. And there's more.
第一点，跟骚也要有紧急保护令；第二点，跟骚受害者的资料需要保护；第三，加害人要接受教育辅导。 以上这3个诉求，家暴法都可以做到，所以跟骚法也应该要修法做到。
From Ms. A to lawmaker Fan Yun to the lawyer and the activists here today, the hope is the same: making sure a 3-year-old law succeeds in its original mission to get justice for people who would otherwise have their lives destroyed. Alex Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
A new drug for early-stage Alzheimer's has been administered in Taiwan for the first time. The drug is called Kisunla and was developed by a U.S. pharmaceutical company aimed at treating the cause of Alzheimer's rather than just the symptoms. It was used on an 83-year-old female patient in New Taipei. Kisunla was approved by the government earlier this year. There are around 350,000 people living with dementia in Taiwan, and an estimated 2/3 of them have Alzheimer's. In northern Taiwan, a beauty pageant is turning factory workers and teachers into kings and queens. By bringing a Filipino tradition to Taiwan, the event casts a spotlight on migrant workers who are often overlooked. Gino Lopez reports.
Face powder, false lashes, and last-minute prayers. This stage in Taoyuan feels more like Manila on Coronation Day. But every king and queen here is a Filipino migrant working in Taiwan. They stand back up, literally, after every slip. Among them is 28-year-old English teacher Malaya. Today, she's trading in her lesson plan for sequin dresses and heels. She wants to inspire more people to be more compassionate, just as she has been, even amid the difficulties she has faced.
I have experienced discrimination because of my nationality, but I didn't let it weigh me down. I focus on my goals and I just do my job and prove them that I am capable, even if I am a Filipino.
Across the room is 35-year-old electronics engineer McCoy. Unlike many of the other contestants, he's getting ready all by himself. After 3 tireless years on the factory floor, today's runway is his break from the circuit boards.
Yun, ang gusto ko po ipakita dito ay kahit na busy tayo sa trabaho.
I want to show that even if we are busy with work, we have to learn how to balance our life so that we can further grow and become more productive, not only in work, but also in life as a whole.
Ginoo at Binibining Taiwan is a homegrown pageant staged by migrant workers themselves, one of many organized by Filipinos living abroad. But here, kings and queens share the same runway, making it one of the first mixed-gender competitions held in Taiwan. Contestants face off in themed costume rounds, production, casual, and summer wear. Organizers say the real headline isn't beauty, it's the chance to build community and stand together far from home.
Gusto ko magkaroon tayo ng unity sa pamamagitan na to is...
I want us to have unity through this event, to get together and to be with each other. Through this, we can learn more about what each one of us goes through, what sacrifices we have made being far from family, and get some idea of what each of our stories are.
It's not just contestants coming together. Members of the Filipino community from all over Taiwan have filled the venue to cheer for their favorites. Solidarity also raises funds. Ticket sales support a shelter for elderly and special needs children in the Philippines. Community leaders serve as judges and say the pageant builds pride as much as it shows off style.
Back in the Philippines, people love pageant. You know, they love to showcase their talents, the Filipino cultural heritage through the costumes they're donning, or I think it's more of like adding confidence.
Malaya and McCoy may not have won this time, but they say that just taking part in the pageant is already an accomplishment. For these contestants, winning isn't just about the sash or the crown. It's about the space they've created to build each other's self-confidence and foster a tight-knit community. Hang Shu, David Santos, and Gino Lopez for TaiwanPlus.
8 Taiwanese troops are set to take the stage at 2 prominent European festivals this summer, the Avignon Festival and the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. The performances will include puppetry, dance, magic, contemporary circus, and theater, exploring themes such as self-identity and cultural memory. The Culture Ministry hopes these performances can help boost Taiwan's cultural presence on the world stage.
亲爱的台湾艺术家们，你们是台湾文化的使者，不仅代表台湾创作力，也代表我们的价值、信念与文化自信。文化部将持续作为你们最坚实的后盾，将台湾文化推上更高、更远的舞台。
The 2 festivals will be held in July and August, respectively. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more of our stories. Finally, we leave you with images of Taiwan's youth baseball team in Manila. These young athletes defeated their rivals from the Philippines at the 2025 Pony Palomino Division Asia Pacific Championships. I'm Jeremy Olivier. Take care and see you next time.